Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. This has been a wonderful, wonderful week for me. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I am your host, Felicia Broege, and I am so happy and appreciative that everyone has tuned in to my show. Um, I want to also start out by saying that um, anything that may be weighing us down or anything that has been a challenge, it's up to you to change that. And we can do that together. We all have had good times and bad times in our lives that have. Challenged us or kind of caused us to put some things in the background. That's one thing that this show is all about, is us working through those things together and kind of understanding ways that we can really improve how we look at things, how we deal with things, and how we're able to move forward when we do have those difficulties. So I'm just so thankful for everyone who's tuned in. What we're going to talk about tonight is going from emptiness to expansion in our lives. That's definitely something that I've experienced on a personal level, and I just want to reach out to everyone individually and as a group and let you know that there are so many different avenues that we take in life. And a lot of times those things don't work out for one reason or another. There's also those times that we don't know what to do, we don't know where to go. And I just want to be the first to let you know that you're not alone in this journey. There are a lot of things in my life personally that have caused me to feel very empty, very depleted of myself as a resource to my success, things that have made me feel like I wasn't accomplishing the goals I had, that made me feel that there was no more pouring that I could do out into the universe to move forward in my life. So I want you guys to know that I speak from personal experience tonight and in moving forward. I do have several inspirational resources that I go to. There are videos, there's literature, there's magazines, books, websites, and also, of course, the in person who have experienced emptiness in their lives, and also educated information as well as personal wisdom and discernment that has carried individuals through. These individuals are successful, they've lived life, they've had their journey, they've had stops, they've had detours. And I want to share a video with you guys tonight that definitely kind of center points a lot of different things that go through a person's mind. Know that you're human. Know that you're not alone. It's not the first time someone's felt empty. It probably won't be the last time for any of us. It's completely normal. It's completely natural. And I just want to share that video with you at this time and give you the same inspiration that I've got from these individuals individually and also as a whole in this video. So stay tuned for that and let me know if you have any questions or concerns in the comments.
One thing you have to learn early in life, I didn't learn this till later on. You can't care what anybody thinks about you.
There is no excuse for not living up to your fullest potential. No excuse. And I stopped being a victim. I stopped saying I've got to wait for good things to happen to me. And I said I'm going to ride. I'm going to fight. I'm going to work. I'm going to press forward. I'm going to learn. I'm going to do everything in my power every single day to become a victor and not a victim.
Hey, I hope that that everyone will forgive me for any technical difficulties that may come up. Um, As you saw, just by that short video there, it was kind of showcasing emptiness, and that being, one of the facets of life. And also, it doesn't make you vulnerable. It doesn't make you a victim. Being empty in life gives us room to grow. Um, when you're dealing with pain of any kind, it's very, very easy to feel isolated. I know that in my life, during times where I just didn't feel like I was making the mark and I was disappointed in myself, a lot of that was because I didn't really feel like I was giving it my all. And other times, I didn't really feel like I had much to offer to move forward. And so that kind of made it just a little bit difficult. And also, I feel like it was something that I had to realize that other people were going through as well. It wasn't just me. I was able to figure out that my best step was going to be my next step. And when I was able to understand that by doing anything was better than doing nothing, that also caused me to understand that giving up was not an option. Now, it was very hard a lot of times to have the confidence to be able to just take the next step, because a lot of times we get so overshadowed with being the best, by meeting a goal, by doing it by a deadline, by doing it this way, by doing it that way. We don't allow ourselves to pat ourselves on the back for whatever we're able to do. As long as it's a step in the right direction and we're doing something to move forward, always be positive about that. Always be proud of yourself about that. With that being said, one of the things that has also been something that I would call kind of a pick me up is making lists of things that I've accomplished that are small goals. To reach those big goals and accomplish things that we've set out to do, we always have to make steps towards that. And so sometimes we don't give ourselves the credit that we need to give ourselves. If you have a test, you're a college student or a high school student, or at your job, you may have a deadline or an assignment that needs to be in. Sometimes we don't celebrate a lot of the small wins. That causes us to feel empty because we don't feel like we're accomplishing everything we set out to accomplish. But before we are accomplishing the ultimate goal, the ultimate task, it's been good for me to kind of celebrate little bitty wins. So you can celebrate being able to study. You can celebrate being able to get to work on time. You can celebrate getting through a chapter of information. All those little bitty things are very important. And so we want to make sure that we celebrate little wins. Another thing in helping us go from emptiness to expansion is understanding that failure is definitely something that we don't want to embrace, but it is still part of the journey. You're going to fail in order to be successful. If you never fail anything, you don't learn from it. So, say you set out to run a marathon and you've never ran a marathon before. Take it a step further, you haven't even jogged. So, in order to get there, there's going to be trial and error. And so in life, there has to be trial and error. You have to trip. You're going to have sore feet. You're going to have sore knees. You might have to get a different brand of shoes. All of this to meet the goal. You might start out jogging. You might start out having to take breaks. You might get thirsty a little bit quicker than what you anticipated. You might get tired a little bit quicker than you anticipated. But when you have these goals and you have these dreams and things that you want to accomplish and leading you to success, you always have to remember that failure has to be a part of it. And just like you have little wins, you're going to have little losses, and that's just something that you need to accept. That's part of growth. So that's another thing that will allow you to get through feeling empty and feeling depleted, is understanding that a little bit does go a long way in the journey. A lot of those little wins and also those little losses are going to make that experience something that's more worthwhile. When we set out to reach a goal and it's difficult or it takes a little bit longer than what we anticipated, then you're learning every step of the way. You're learning what to do right and not do wrong again. You're learning what to do right, but still improve on. And you're learning that these little steps, these little trials and tribulations, the little successes, the little smiley faces, so to speak, the little stickers along the way are all part of a learning process. So when you do reach that goal, it makes you appreciate it a lot more. So that's definitely something that will help when you're going from emptiness to expansion. Another thing that's definitely going to help, I feel, is making a list of things that you don't like. Once you make the list of the things you don't like, you should go back and kind of break it down into things that um, are good for you that you might not necessarily like. You know, kids don't like eating vegetables. But just like with my son and a couple of other younger children that I've had the pleasure of influencing their growth or having, a part of them growing up, um, picking out a kind of vegetable, a compromise like lettuce, which is actually a salad, dipping it in ranch. There may be something like waking up early that a person doesn't like, but they have to wake up early in order to get somewhere on time. Well, by recognizing that you're not a morning person, but you still have a goal that you want to reach, you can maybe set more than one alarm clock. You can maybe put ice water by your bed, and you can reward yourself. Having a reward system while you're making accomplishments and moving toward a goal is going to allow you to have a better relationship with failure. Failure is not something that we need to look at as completely negative. Um, Failure is not necessarily something we want to always embrace because it hurts and it makes us feel like we're not necessarily doing what we need to do. But when it comes to inventions like the light bulb or the airplane, there were a lot of failures before those were inventions. So there's a lot of things that we use in our everyday lives that before it was something that we didn't even think about, like electricity, the telephone, something that we just use all the time. The inventors had to fail hundreds, sometimes even thousands of times before they were able to perfect their craft. And to add insult to injury, they had a lot of negativity. It was something new, it was something that they weren't necessarily sure about, but there was something that kept them going. And so, for every failure, those failures amounted to a whole lot more times than the successes did. But for those successes, they were able to invent the light bulb. They were able to discover one source or another. They were able to give us wings as human beings, so to speak, with airplanes. And so we're able to get places faster. If the Wright brothers would have decided that the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or even 20th time of failure that they were going to give up, then we wouldn't have the invention of the airplane. So when you look at things like that, that we want to accomplish or things that we may not necessarily be sure about, understanding that the trial and error of failure is all part of success. So we want to just make sure that we do whatever we can to give ourselves a pep talk. And that's going to definitely take us from emptiness to expansion. And it's also going to give us a better sense of self respect. The second thing that I wanted to talk about tonight is going from pain to progress. Whenever you lose a loved one or you lose a job, just like we talked about in our last show, um, that's something that definitely does not feel good. Um, it was so painful. Hey, Hey, how are you?
For a second, so you may want to hop back to the beginning. Your progress point.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go back to the beginning from pain to progress. Um, like I was saying a little bit earlier, whenever I lost the loved one, it really made me feel like a part of me was missing. And feeling like a part of you is missing, like losing an arm, losing a leg, it can kind of hypothetically cause you to malfunction for a while. I knew that the loved one was no longer suffering from the pain that they had when they were alive. I knew that we had a lot of memories. I knew that she knew how much I loved her, but it was just a huge loss for me emotionally. So, um, with that, I was able to take a lot of the pain and turn it into something positive. I was writing poems a lot. I would also listen to music. I would sometimes kind of, understand the fact that, we really had some good times together. I think that pain is something that we can use to fuel happiness. I think that takes a lot of focus on what we do have to be thankful for. Whenever you're in pain, moving forward is so hard because pain takes away some of our peace. Pain causes us to feel like we have a heavy boulder on us, and pain can definitely get you out of focus. And to be completely frank, it kind of makes you feel like you don't really want to accomplish the things that you had set out, if not for a moment. But one of the things that we have to continue to think about is striving for anything positive. What are you telling yourself when you're in pain? Are you giving yourself a positive pep talk, telling yourself that it's going to be okay, telling yourself that this is not the last straw, telling yourself that you can make it up from here? Self talk is very important when you're going through pain because pain is an emotion that likes to linger. Pain is one of those emotions that doesn't want to go away. Pain is something that you feel like you've put on the shelf for a little bit, but then it's easy to pick it up and take it back down, especially when it comes to the loss of a loved one or the loss of a very important relationship or a job or anything that is highly important to you and takes part of your energy and kind of takes priority over other things in your life, either emotionally, financially, or hypothetically. So, pain is one of those emotions that it's very easy to grab hold to, and it's one of those emotions that likes to linger. What I found is most important is to try to put pain in perspective. The perspective that I am human and that it's normal to feel pain, it's okay to feel pain. Um, is helpful. Also, the fact that you don't want to put a time limit on your emotions, but you want to make sure you can still function through your emotions. So, I remember taking a little bit of time off from work. I do also remember taking some time for myself, but I knew that me personally, I've had issues with isolation for years. I would get to the point where I just didn't want to go around other people. I would turn my phone off during excessive periods of time, avoid all social medias, and basically just kind of block myself in while I was dealing with that. That's not what you want to do. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not discouraging self care. I'm also not discouraging time for yourself. That one on one with yourself is highly important. It helps you to recognize your strengths, recognize your weaknesses, and work on as much self improvement and self development. But too much self by yourself is not good. You need to make sure you have some way of releasing even if you're not actually interacting with another person, it's always good to listen to music. It's always good to be able to pick up the phone, try to call at least one person a day. Try to actually hear someone's voice. Communicate with a couple of people. You could use text messaging, emails, messenger, that's fine, but it's very important to actually open your mouth and talk to someone. Let them know how you're feeling. You would be surprised at how the exchange of "I love you, I care about you, I'm there for you, I understand what you're going through, I'm here if you need me," or just a simple hello will take you a long way. As much as we want to be strong, and as much as I've tried to be strong, that isolation is not emotionally healthy. So it's always good to try to reach out to at least one person a day. Doesn't even have to be someone you know. There are several hotlines where you can call and talk to someone, but never be in a situation where pain gets so heavy that you're going extended periods of time without communicating with other individuals. Always let someone know how you're doing. Always make sure that you're keeping a constant flow of communication, because this is something that allows you to interact with other individuals, and that interaction is scientifically proven to help you out of that spot. There is different stages of grief when you've lost a loved one. Keep in mind that that applies to any loss. It may be a different form of grief in losing a job or losing a relationship, but you're still grieving something because you've lost it. As humans, we have to experience that, but you also have to keep a balance because you don't want anything to become emotionally unhealthy. So, in going from pain to progress, the first thing we have to get a handle on is understanding that going through pain is completely normal. It's okay, and we can get through it, but we have to handle it in a healthy way. And no one can put a time limit on your pain versus my pain. Never measure the endurance or the longevity of hurt. You can't compare yourself to someone else. What you owe to yourself is not self-comparison through your pain, but what you owe yourself is to remember it's okay. Never beat yourself up for being in pain. Never beat yourself up for how long you're grieving a loved one, how long it takes you to want to go out and party after you've lost a friendship, a relationship, a job. Always give yourself that understanding. And with pain, just like with several other emotions, it's not the pain itself that we fight against, it's how we cope with it. As I said before in previous videos, I have not always used the best coping skills. And in not using the best coping skills, that not only makes the situation harder, but keep in mind that it may cause you to deal with the pain longer. It may also cause you to develop other emotions to go along with that linger around a little bit too long, like anger. Um, it may affect your self esteem as well. You want to keep telling yourself positive thoughts. When we're going through pain, it's very easy for us to think negative thoughts towards ourselves, about our situation. Some of that is completely normal. You want to pamper yourself. You want to give yourself time to be sad. You want to give yourself time to just kind of feel your way through everything. But you don't want to start giving yourself negative self talk because that's going to be counterproductive. So, in going from pain to progress, you need to remember three main things. One, you're human, it's normal, it's okay. Two, the pain likes to linger. So you have to pull every single positive thought out of your arsenal to be able to fight through the easiness of staying in it, sulking in it, and not getting out. And three, last but certainly not least, it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever. You can do it. I've done it. The next time you get in a situation where you're dealing with a lot of pain, you're dealing with a lot of hurt, you're dealing with a lot of disappointment, you're going to be able to get through it a little bit different. And so, for each time in my life that I've dealt with pain, I've been able to progress through differently than the first because After a while, your pain muscle starts working. You know what to do, you recognize it, and you don't allow yourself to sulk. You don't allow yourself to just stop. So, what I found is I'm able to function through it. I'm able to still show up. I may not laugh as much. I may not call my mom or my friends or anyone that I know as much, but I'm dealing with it in a healthy way. I'm actually currently dealing with some personal pain in a couple of avenues of my life. And non isolating is something that I decided a long time ago is something that I have to maintain. Isolation is a coping skill that I've used in the past. It was not positive. I knew it wasn't positive, and so it was something that I decided that I wasn't going to use. And so because of that, I know that whenever I'm going through a painful time, I need to make sure I talk to someone every day. I need to make sure I'm communicating with other human beings. I need to continue talking to myself positively, and I've been able to get through it. It's not the end of the world. Um, on occasion, it does feel, I guess, embarrassing, only because, like I said earlier, pain is one of those things that you cannot put a time limit on. But life has to go on. Felicia has to continue to progress in her life. Felicia has responsibilities. And at the end of the day, I don't have the trademark on pain. So I'm not the only one that has dealt with it. And so within my sadness, I just really have decided that I do have a lot to be grateful for. I've decided that there are a lot of people in my corner. I've decided that no matter what pain that I feel, there's so many things to be grateful for. There's so many people that are happy that they're a part of my life and I part of theirs. And I've accomplished so much in the past. So this pain that I deal with, from a large amount to a small amount, large area of my life, small area of my life, I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to push through. I'm going to talk to myself positively, and I'm going to keep progressing, although I'm in pain. I'm going to keep ministering to people about God. I'm going to still put out positive affirmations to people. I'm going to help anyone that I know needs help. I'm going to be a friend to anyone that I can be. I'm going to continue to love the people in my life who have been there for me, who are worthy, and I'm going to just continue to push on and keep progressing. I'm not going to sulk. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself, and I'm going to continue to tell myself that I'm a champion, and I'm going to keep being positive. And I think that by deciding a while ago that this was the way that I chose to show up in my pain. I chose to progress through my pain. I chose to say, yes, Felicia, you're sad. But guess what? God gave you another opportunity to wake up this morning. God gave you another opportunity to do something positive. God gave you another opportunity to be here. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit here? Are you going to sulk? Or are you going to decide that you can still make progress in your life and somebody else's as well? So I just want everyone to understand that going from pain to progress is never impossible, but it's something you have to fight for. It's something you have to truly want, and you have to have the right tools. The last point that I wanted to touch on, um, in being able to be sad and go from being sad to satisfied tonight, within the pain that I'm dealing with personally, and also in different areas of my life. One of the things that I've been able to do is every morning I wake up with a motivational speaker. You can find those on YouTube. Sometimes you can see them on Instagram. For me right now, it's been a lot of purposeful self talk in regards to entrepreneurship. Sometimes it's faith based. A lot of you guys know that I am an evangelist minister. So that is something that I do. But for anyone, God based or not God based, there are so many motivational videos. Maya Angelou is one, Zig Ziglar. There's also Les Brown. There's a lot of different motivational speakers who share their story across the globe. Some of them have passed on, like Maya Angelou, but their words, of course, still resonate with me. A lot of times, when you start your day with something positive, no matter what you're going through, that does allow you to have a positive outlook. So that definitely helps. Whatever your favorite drink is, that'll work. I like coffee and I also like tea. But first thing in the morning, I've seen that cool ice water not only wakes you up, but it kind of allows you to kind of smile even when you don't really feel like it. That may not work for everyone, but it's definitely worked for me. Uh, we had mentioned in another video as well, exercise is definitely going to be something that is going to give you a major stress reliever. It does raise certain chemicals in the brain, and it's been scientifically proven that even 10 to 20 minutes of light exercise per day, but specifically in the morning when you're sad, go ahead and do that. You could walk even just around in your living room. You can do some light stretches. There's all kinds of videos, um, stretch warm ups. You could do jumping jacks if that's your thing. If you're really athletic, of course, push ups, just something to kind of get the heart pumping. By doing that, you're raising those positive chemicals. So that's something else you can do. Try to make sure that throughout the day, you're not listening to any negative music. I am a music lover. I've told you guys that before. I personally suffered from depression and anxiety throughout my life now, a lot through my adolescent period, but it's just the hand that I was dealt. So that's just some of the things that I deal with environmentally, and some of it is hereditary. So, with that being said, through the sad times in my life, it has been music that's been there, different genres of music, various singers. But one thing you have to realize is when you're sad, it's a little bit different than, when you're just having a regular day. So, with that being said, try not to listen to any sad music. Only listen to pick me up music. You may not even realize it, but a lot of times what we see on TV and the music we listen to, it gets into your spirit. Subliminal messages are so real with every single thing that we hear. So, whether it's music or it's something that is online, something you hear someone saying, we talked earlier about that positive self talk when you're going through pain. When you're sad, make sure you're giving yourself all kinds of positive thoughts internally as well as externally. And that's definitely going to help you to try to focus on positive things. You want to be realistic. If you're sad about something that needs immediate attention, of course, you need to do what you can to alleviate that. But if you're sad because of something that's not in your control, or you're sad because of a life occurrence, let's be honest, we have been in a pandemic for a long time. Okay. So that in itself is going to sometimes make you be a little bit down in the dumps, a little bit sunken in your spirit. So you have to make sure that even the music you listen to is upbeat, is positive, has good energy, is headed in a direction that's going to motivate you. If you're sad, you don't want to listen to sad music, you don't want to watch sad shows, save that for the times when you know you can handle it emotionally. From sad to satisfied is going to take a routine of positivity. Routine of positivity starting in the morning. You're listening to something positive. Let's also try to think of wearing upbeat colors. No black, no navy blue, no dark browns. Try to wear something that's a brighter color, like a yellow, maybe a bright orangey red, something that's going to kind of lighten things up. Try to open your blinds, or if you don't have blinds and you just have curtains, something to get a little bit of sunshine in, kind of light things up. It's easy to stay in the dark when you're dealing with emotional pain, or even physical, to tell the truth, because I've experienced both throughout my life. But what you want to do is kind of get a little bit of sunlight in, and that's going to help as well. Another thing that will also help, we did talk about emotional brainstorming in one of the former shows. So when you're going through sadness with the journaling, the emotional brainstorming definitely helps. But to take it a step further, I would make a couple of lists of action versus non action. And basically, what you're doing in that activity is you're making two lists. You're making lists of things that you can take action to make better versus things that you cannot take action about. And you just have to just kind of see it for what it is. I'm pretty sure most people here are familiar with the serenity prayer. And the bottom line of the serenity prayer for me, the thing that hit me so well is to recognize the things you cannot change. Okay. And recognize the things you can change and the wisdom to know the difference. I know with lots of sadness that we experience in life, including the pandemic, there may be some things that are under our control. There may be some things that we cannot control. And so, in recognizing that for what it is, it's able to give us a different perspective on life. You can't focus on the non action list, the list that you can't do anything about, the list that you can do things about, to cope through that with a positive spirit. And although you're sad, figure out ways to make the situation better. Then you can break that down and one by one figure out ways to make things better. It's not necessarily going to happen overnight. When you're sad and you want to have a life of satisfaction, you want to be in the energy of being able to, I don't know, give yourself happiness. It can also make you feel like you have no control over anything. And I speak personally when I say the quicker you're able to accept the fact that there's going to be some things that you can change and other things you can't, then you're able to enjoy life more and you're able to be satisfied. And for me, to be honest with you, that has made a very, very big difference in my life. I was one of those people that always wanted to do something to make a situation better, not just for me, but also for people around me. And when I was able to start understanding, accepting, and realizing that some things are just the way they are, I was able to push forward. Back in June of last year, it was June 30th, my dad was in a horrible car accident with a drunk driver, and we almost lost him. He had to be extracted from his vehicle with instruments. He had to be med flighted to a hospital by helicopter. He was in a coma for nearly a month. It was absolutely one of the hardest times in my life. And he's still recuperating that from that to this day. Um, it was a place of me having to put my emotions where they needed to be. And in those take action, non action lists that I was telling you about, the non action list is just going to be something you have to accept. I had to accept the fact that my dad would never be the same. I also had to accept the fact that I was blessed, that he was still on this earthly realm. And after all that time, all that energy, all that sadness, all that pain, all that emptiness that I felt, at the end of the day, I had to love my dad, love myself, and be proud of the fact that we still had him. And in my other list, the list that I could take action and make change, I was able to do a lot. I was able to assist him in rehabilitation. I was able to uh, fill in a lot of the holes um, back home, things that my dad took care of in the community, in his church, for my mother, for my sister, that he was no longer able to do. I was able to do those things. And I was also able to be there for him even before he could verbally communicate, I love you, that's my girl, thank you, we're going to get through this. I was able to kind of do some self talk on things that I already knew. Going back to the basics is something that is so important when you're sad. Going from sad to satisfied for me meant that I knew I couldn't be my father. I knew that we had a long road ahead of us. I knew that it was a sadness that I never felt before. But I also knew that there were so many things that I could do, like writing him letters, assisting him with tasks, and just being there for him that uplifted me in my sadness. And so I started to rechannel a lot of my sadness. And in rechanneling a lot of that sadness and accepting the things that I could do something about, it really allowed me to cope, be realistic, be positive. So even through sadness and a situation that is negative, we were able to find positivity in that situation as father and daughter, as me as an individual, and for the people around us. So it was definitely a learning experience. And I can honestly say to you today that I am still sad, but I went from sad to satisfied when I was able to focus on what I could do for my father. And I was able to understand the opportunity within this sadness. And that's basically what we have to do in all aspects of our lives when we are sad. Those things are not going to go away. I may not get a call that a relative has to be med flighted to a hospital. I may not get a call that, my dad has to learn to walk again, or they don't know if he's going to make it, but it's going to be something. It's going to be something that's going to make me sad. It's going to be something that's going to change my mood. It's going to be something that's going to challenge me. It's going to be something that's going to make me sad. It's going to be something to cause tears to fall. It's going to be something that's going to cause me to think that maybe that day I didn't do Felicia's best. It's going to be something to make me think that Felicia is disappointing to someone who's counting on me, or even to myself. But because I'm at a point where I go to that list, either because it's written down or because in my heart and my mind, I know that there's some things that I have to accept as they are. Some things I have to get busy and change, even though it may take a whole lot longer. And God gives me the wisdom to know the difference. So that's why I'm sad, but I'm also satisfied, because I know that as I sit here today, that no matter what I go through, I can get through it. It's a learning experience. And so, to an extent, going through sadness, it allows you to work those pain muscles, work those sad muscles. And if you work a muscle at first, it's going to be really sore. You're going to be really tired. You're going to want to quit. You're going to sweat. You're going to moan. You're going to groan. And it's going to get hot. And you're going to look at yourself like, I can't do anymore. But just like if you're in the gym and you're trying to get physically fit, that's the same with sadness. That's the same with pain. That's the same with emptiness. And so through all of that, I started to see those emotions over a period of my life were building the woman that Felicia is today. Because without those hard times, those devastating moments, I couldn't stretch my pain muscle. I couldn't stretch my empty muscle. I couldn't stretch my sad muscle. But because I was able to do that, here today, I'm a different person. And so I just want anyone listening to understand that we're walking a journey together with all of these emotions, all of these ups, all of these downs, and nobody is alone. There's always somebody else in the universe who's been there. There's always somebody else in the universe who can say something to make a difference, do something to make a difference, inspire you to be different. And we're in this together because at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all going to have those emotions that are not so pretty. And we're all going to have to go back to those same coping skills. I've had to do it so many times. Run it again, run it again, run it again, as one of my old bosses used to tell me. You got this, Felicia, as another one of my supervisors used to say. And through it all, it's not that bad. It's going to hurt, but it's not that bad. And you just got to keep pushing forward. And so I'm satisfied with the woman I am. I'm satisfied with the coping skills that I have to do again and again and again, and the positivity that I tell myself, because that's the only way I can meet those goals. That's the only way I can fulfill my purpose on this earth, this life. And so I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight. Positive Tea with me. And I want to see you again next week. You let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you so, so much for your support. And I will see you guys later. Good night.